Oh, the two of the four participants' speech were in online. Now we can see that we are rapidly getting used to the untyped presentation. Okay, and next, without any further delay, we will move on to session 2 on the theme of government assistance for developing new functional food market. I will introduce the moderator, the Professor Kim Ji-yeon, Seoul National University of Science and Technology, for this session, who has experienced at the FDA USA as the exchange researcher and is working for the functional food that is her specialty. The Professor Kim, would you please start the session 2?
Thank you for your kind introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ji-yeon Kim, a professor at Seoul National University of Science and Technology. So I'm very honored to be a chair of this session. So the live streaming through the YouTube is my first experience. So I'm very exciting, but I'm a little bit nervous. Please understand my pronunciations. So in this session, we will cover the government assistance for developing new healthy food market. So in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic situation, so I've come to think again the importance the government's role in our society. So for this session, we invited our colleague in the government. So two speakers are from the Korean government, my Korean friends, and the one speaker from the Japanese government agency. So please don't exceed this 15 minutes for the presentation. So we will proceed with the Q&A session after the presentation of your speakers. So first two speakers, for Korean speakers, so I will proceed in Korean, so I'm asking for your understanding. So 첫 번째 한국말로 진행하겠습니다. 첫 번째 발표를
Okay, so I will
맡아주실
proceed in Korean. So our first session will be run by the Deputy Director of Namhyunju. He's the Deputy Director of the Food Industry Promotion Division at Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. His title is the Current Government Strategies for Settlement of Functional Labeling. It is my great honor to be here. It is my great honor to be here at the 10th Food Policy International Conference. And for those who are joining us online, I'd like to say hi. And I would like to give you some insights on the current government strategies for settlement of functional labeling, for the contents, the current situation of the food industry, the functional labeling in South Korea, and some of the introductions and the government support programs.
First of all, I would like to look at the current status of functional foods. More and more people are interested in healthy life, and starting from the US, the global health functional market has been increasing and expanding. The Korean functional food market has been increasing an average of 11% per year as well. And also, because the regulation has been eased so that they can put some health claims on their products, the market has been growing as well. So General Foods, because of this precedent in Japan, Korea is going to adopt the same measure, and as a result, the specific market of Korea will grow as well. And now I would like to move on to the health functional food market in Korea. In the case of Korea, according to relevant regulations, only health functional foods approved by KFDA can label their health claims. Those are categorized into different sub areas, and it has to be manufactured in a GMP-approved facility only. However, such a measure of Korea is similar to approval process of the FDA and has a high entry barrier. So small and medium enterprises have a hard time entering this market, which is working as a limiting effect for small-sized companies. And because it costs a lot, which is about 300 million to 1 billion won, and it takes a long period of time, average, which is 5 to 7 years on average. And as a result, we lack a diversity of health functional foods in Korea. And despite high growth of the food market, about 70% of the ingredients are imported from overseas. As a result, as I shared earlier, the domestic market is growing in size, but still the entry barrier is set high, and the global dominance of the Korean products remain the same as 10 years ago, which is about 1.1%. And as a result, the Korean government is providing support so that general food products can also put health claims on the packaging. Next, I would like to look at functional food systems for general foods that we would like to implement in the future. This functional food system, marking system for general foods, is one of the national agendas that was chosen by the current administration. And after going through a variety of hackathons, we're going to introduce this measure, and we are coming up with different policy preparation, and different measures and ways are under negotiation among different bodies of the government. Now I would like to talk about what this functional labeling means. You first have to utilize ingredients approved by Korean Food, Drug and Administration, and the materials have to be approved first by the ministry before being able to be marked on the packaging. For example, you can say it is reported that specific material is unknown to be beneficial for certain disease or certain health conditions. So you can say that this product contains specific material that's known to be helpful for something, and you also put the amount of ingredients that is contained by a specific product. Now, because these claims can be marked on the packaging, we can expect a few benefits in the future. First, because a new market will be discovered, jobs will be created. According to Cray Research, after introducing this specific measure, nutraceuticals market will expand to a market size of 5.8 billion Korean won and will create about 18,000 new jobs. In addition, we will also create more opportunity to utilize agricultural resources in Korea, and this will again in turn benefit the income increase of farmers in Korea. And by providing evidence and rationale behind different products, we will be able to satisfy the right of consumers to know what is included in the products that they buy. Now I would like to move on to agricultural functional food registration examples. First, I would like to talk about how we're going to support different companies. They will have to go through clinical tests, stability tests, and human body clinical trials. As I shared earlier, in the earlier part of my presentation, It takes a long time, and it also requires a lot of amount of budget. And in order to decrease this time and decrease the amount of money that has to be spent, the government will give out subsidies. As a result, about 12 individual approvals were given, and SCI level papers were produced as well. A total of 132 papers were produced. And also, by utilizing the specific project, we identified different raw materials that are healthy, such as fig or fermented turmeric, and the other two examples that are noted on the slide. Now I would like to talk about discovery of functional agricultural product resources. We have to look at raw materials that are produced locally and also globally. And by doing research on these different ingredients, we can think of ways to replace foreign imports with domestically produced raw materials. This was launched in 2018, so it has been 2 years since we have started this one. And we found 136 alternative materials that can replace foreign imports. And we are continuing on different scales of research as of now as well. And also, utilizing the results that were driven by research and surveys, we are creating a database so that we can provide such data to relevant industry officials. And if you are interested in looking at this research data, please access the fmis.kr website. If you want to give us feedback about how we can improve this database, we will take heed to your opinions and reflect your ideas on the system. Now I would like to talk about the government's support measures on projects concerning investigation of functionality of domestic materials. First, we have to define and identify raw health functional ingredients, and we have to list and register such ingredients under the government. And by doing so, general food companies will be able to utilize such enlisted materials when it comes to developing their food products. And at the same time, they have to be free from worries and concerns of using raw materials if they are successfully registered under the government. And by cooperating with local governments, they can get smooth supply of those raw materials, and we're going to create a raw material supply bank with different local governments. We are now currently carrying out relevant research, and from next year we will be able to build the system. And because we introduced this new labeling system for being able to put food claims, health claims on food packaging, we're going to issue publications and guidelines so that relevant companies who would like to utilize this new measure can benefit from thorough explanation. In addition, we will also focus on empowerment of food industry officials. We will work with many prominent universities. Currently, Goryeo Jochang campus and Hanyang University were chosen as our government partners, and 20 applicants registered from each university for this specific project. Last but not least, there is a localization support and local functional food export support measure that is provided by the government so that more Korean food companies can export their products abroad. The government is going to work hard, and we're going to focus on the growth of health functional food market. In order to raise and nurture this market, the government will continue to move forward and improve the market environment and conditions. I would like to ask for your continuous support. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your presentation. I loved your presentation, and you gave us all the details of what kind of work was done by the government to introduce this new project and new measure. And the Ministry of Agriculture and Food has been carrying out many different support measures, and we were able to see the variety of those different policies. I think the industry and the academia would be very happy and excited to hear your presentation, and I hope that this will be a great opportunity for our Korean food industry to take a leap forward towards the future. Now let me introduce our next speaker.
So our next speaker is the Shin Young-hee. She is also from the government sector, the Senior Deputy Director of the Food Safety Labeling and the Certification at the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety. The food labeling is very important because it provides direct information to the final consumers. So she is at the government sector, and then she is in charge of this kind of information. So today she would like to introduce functional labeling in the general food industry. So Ms. Shin, thank you very much for your introduction. I am Shin Young-hee, as it being introduced. I am from the MFDS. I'm very honored to be able to have this opportunity to have this chance to introduce you the functional labeling to general food. Today, I would like to cover I would like to tell you some of the background of the functional food and functional labeling, and then the safety assurance. And by doing so, how we can assure the consumer's right, and I also would like to give you how we can reinforce the safety management system by having this kind of the functional labeling of the system. So I would like to first give you the overview and behind this the functional labeling system. So first, the kind of proposal that if there is a kind of labeling, it was very limited to functional food, and then this labeling need to be permitted by this MFDS. And there has been a lot of the complaints and then the feedbacks that this kind of the system need to be revised. And then we also have noticed that there in the name of the labeling there has been a lot of this exaggeration, and then also this misperceived the wrong kind of these ideas. So that we found out that there's the need to have this the regulatory ideas to correct this kind of the misconducts. So to have this the functional labeling system, we have made the joint task force, which was comprised of the total 25 persons, and then these people were from the consumer group, general and the functional food association groups, experts, and from both the private and the government sectors. So. And we have conducted the 2 sessions every month for 6 months, and then we have conducted the in-depth discussions. That we are currently, well, those kinds of in-depth discussions are currently being delayed due to this the COVID-19 issues, but it will be resumed. And but a lot of until now, a lot of people have been actively involved to implement this the functional labeling the system, and one of the major reasons to have this the functional labeling the system is to prevent the false labeling, and then one of these want to give you the further ideas is that the labeling and the advertisements that have caused for concerns to misperceive the non-functional food as a functional food, and then it has been causing quite a lot of the problem in the general public, and then. So to prevent it, that was a major reason that we come up with this kind of the system. And then before we implemented this kind of the system, well, there has been a lot of the concerns as well. And then one of these feedback was that it would be much better. It would be if we can have this short-term, mid-term, and then long-term, the pathways will be much useful. And because in the short term, if we because well, when it comes to the functional food, and then in the process of this the proving the safety of this functional food, and then there are several kind of the ways of proving the safety of this, the safety of those ingredients, and then so well maybe if those our MFDS, if the MFDS can provide several ways, that would be very nice. So first one is self determination, or the second one is that approval by this the MFDS, so that which means the MFDS certified the ingredients, and then or the approved approval the ingredients. So if they can provide several channels or the several approval channels, it would be so nice. So that that was the one of the feedback that we got. So in regard to the functional labeling system. So that so about to give you, so there are some of the standards and the guidelines in regard to the functional the food, the supplement food, and then so there's the doses that the ingredients need to be put in also are already standardized. So all those manufacturers need to strictly follow those the doses, and then as well as the expiration dates also need to be strictly complied by, and all those the manufacturers also need to provide all those scientific data to prove their the efficacies. And so in Korea, the ingredients, in Korea, well, there are certain wordings that has been mainly used among the Korean labelings, such as it is very useful for the hangovers, such as the word is very good for your digestion, something like that. So. So we are also we are also refining those kind of the wording related regulations as well. So The functionality, the safety related the food, in the labeling. Well, there are among the stakeholders, there are a lot of these conflicts going on on the labelings. So in terms of the doses, and then also about the how to eat. So, and if there's anything wrong, that the person needs to stop eating or stop having this, stop taking these ingredients and need to see the doctor immediately. And those kind of the wordings, whether it should be on this labeling or not, has been very it has been under the controversial and has been under the controversies. So. These are some of the examples of the labelings, and these are one of the labelings on this health supplement food. So that's why we have this the health-related marks as well. So to prevent any kind of one of the major reasons that we have this kind of labeling is that we need to protect the consumer's health, so that any kind of the wordings or any kind of the graphic or the characters or that would impact the pregnant women or the little children are strictly forbidden or restricted. And also, these are the medical foods where this alcohol related beverages are also strictly forbidden or restricted. And we have also made a list of the nutritious compositions, because for all those the nutritions, if they are over consumed, it has a negative impact on those consumers. So that we have the compositions that we have put each of the criteria, so that if you would like to consume these ingredients, this is the maximum amount that you can consume for this protein or this for this or that ingredient. And then for those wording wise, if it's sexually related wordings, it is strictly forbidden. And then if it is a socially the sensitive subject, or the kind of the wording such as it would improve your memory, or that it would help the children to grow in their height, that these kind of wordings are also strictly restricted. And well, there are also the things that we are under discussion among the stakeholders, as you can see in this slide, such as the nutrition content criteria. So how much total fat, saturated fat, and the amount, the food criteria is something like that. So as you can see from this slide, so if and then also well, after we put in this labeling, and then if we also double check whether this manufacturers have comply after we comply with all those labelings, and then these are the contents of this the ingredients contents inside this packaging are actually same as written in the labeling, and that if they are found out not to be not the same, then well, there are also the disciplinary measures that's followed by. And then also there are also dosage forms and the additional options, and then the forms that need to be further discussed among the stakeholders. And then these further discussions will be ready in the July or the autumn, in this summertime. And after that, it will soon be released, noticed to the public. And we are also, by the government side, we are aiming at fully supporting the consumers in the functional labeling. So thank you very much for keeping the time. The functional labeling is the kind of things that are left in the manufacturer side, is something that they are all waiting for. Well, if it were not for this COVID-19, this system might have already been implemented this May, but it has been somewhat delayed. So we would like, we would like to ask for your the continuous support. So the
speaker is Dr. Mari Maeda Yamamoto, Director of the Healthcare Innovation Research Center of National Agricultural Research Organization. Dr. Yamamoto has been a professor at the Graduate School of Cooperation at Tsukuba University since 2015 and has the Narrows Healthcare Innovation Research Center. She's been engaged in research on the development of functional food using anti-allergic green tea, its methylated catechin, various agricultural products, and she is conducting various research activities with the aim of creating a healthy and long-lived society through food. So hello, Dr. Mari.
Hi.
Hi, it's nice to see you again.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the participating. Would you please present it?
Yes, okay. I will share. Okay. Professor Kim, thank you very much for kind introduction. I'd like to thank for inviting me to attend this conference. Today, I will talk about functional labeling industry in Japan, policy status, and the role of NALO. This shows the classification of orally ingested products in Japan. Items other than pharmaceutical products are classified as foods. There are 3 systems that can label foods with functionality. The government approved foods for specified health uses for sure that enforced in 1991. The standard-based the foods with nutrient function claims NFSC, which enforced in 2001. The registration-based foods with function claim FFC, which enforced in 2015. The Japanese Consumer Affairs Agency managed this food labeling system. FFC system is different from previously enforced FORSHU and FNSC. FSC are functional food for which manufacturers can label their packaging with functionality at their own risk upon legislation with the CAA. Under the FFC system, fresh food, raw material, processed food, and supplement are targeted. And food manufacturers and agricultural producers themselves can clarify the safety and the functional scientific evidence that they want to label and can be sold by legislation to CAA in advance. Health claim using body part expression and subjective indicators of functionality, which was not allowed by FOSHU, can now be used, so the number of functional categories that can be labeled has increased. The left panel shows the growth of FFC market in Japan. The FFC system was launched in 1915, and the market has grown to $2.7 billion by 2019. In the 5 years since the FFC system was launched, the size of FFC market has grown so rapidly that it has caught up with the size of FOSHU. Shown on the right functionality that Japanese consumers are highly impressed with. Japanese consumers are highly interested in reducing visceral fat, regulating the bowel, reducing fatigue, improving sleep quality, eye care, lowering blood pressure, and maintaining bone health. Shows the health claim of FFCs from left to right. The categories, health claim, functional ingredient are shown. As of July 10th, 2020, 3,053 FFCs has been registered. You can see about 90 functional ingredients. This table is a continuation of previous one. Consumers are focusing on bone maintaining, improving sleep quality, and relieving mental stress. Here are some of fresh foods as FFCs. As of July 14th, 2020, 68 fresh FFC has been registered. The red text indicated agricultural products registered using the NALO's systematic review, which will be discussed later. There are the citrus, soybean sprout, apple, tomato, pepper, banana, pecan nuts, and bilberry as food items. In addition, there are spinach, kale, oilseed perilla, melon, grape, mushroom, fish, egg, chicken, and pork as food items. Next, I will talk about the technical problems to the registration of fresh food FFCs. There are three major problems that can be considered. First is the collection of scientific evidence for the functionality. Because of the difficulty for agricultural producer in preparing the systematic reviews required for registration, the number of fresh food as FFC did not increase much. Therefore, as the direction of Japanese Cabinet Office, NALO has prepared and released freely available systematic reviews. I'll talk more about that later. Second is the standardization of analysis method. The FFC system requires the use of standardized analytical method for functional ingredient and the attachment of the analytical method to the registration document. Therefore, Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, MAF, is working to standardize its analysis method within the Japan Agriculture Standard, JAS. Currently, 4 analytical JASs are available to the public, as shown here. Third is variation and functional ingredient in fresh food depending on growing season, location, and weather conditions. MAF summarized the corresponding countermeasure as technical measure for functional labeling and released it online August 24th, 2015. This document includes the information on how many samples to analyze in order to determine the variability of the functional ingredient of the target fresh food. Here are some examples of functional agro-foods developed by NALO. Black letter shows the crop name. Red letter shows the variety name. This one and this one. Green letter shows functional ingredient. And blue letters show the functionality evaluated in human intervention clinical study. The circle, this one, indicated where the functional agricultural products were bred. These crops are helping to increase the functional agro-foods as FFC. In addition, NALO has released the systematic reviews, SR. We are currently releasing systematic reviews on 10 functional ingredients, as you can see. The most commonly used of these are omethylated catechin, beta-glyptocyanin, lutein, and procyanidin. Next, here are some of food products registered using NALO's SR. This is Satsuma mandarin unshu, rich in beta-glyptocyanin. This is the first fresh food item to be registered since the FFC system was enforced. Okay, health claim is this one. This is a fresh apple FFC, rich in procyanidin. Health claim, you can see the health claim. Okay. This is a frozen spinach as FFC, rich in lutein. His claim is this spinach contains lutein, which reportedly increased ocular pigment content and facilitates health maintenance of eyes. These products contain 10 milligrams of lutein per 200 grams per 1 day. Okay. These are FFC as the first anti-allergic food based on our study result. These are Benifuki green tea bags and pet drink rich in methylated catechin. Tea sellers say the functional labeling has increased sales by more than 20%. This is due to the increased handling at drugstore. Okay, here are some examples of FFCs of agricultural products from overseas. This is fresh green pepper FFC, rich in luteolin from Korea. This is fresh apple FFC, rich in procyanidin from New Zealand. This is a fresh banana FFC, rich in GABA from Philippines. This is pecan nuts rich in oleic acid from USA. NARO will continue to provide the scientific evidence to increase the number of new fresh food with health claims. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Mari. She gave us a detailed explanation for Japanese new health food labeling system and various examples, especially for fresh agricultural product. Frankly speaking, I met her a few years ago, so she gave us a big impression for what is the government's role to support our agricultural product and food industry. So, Dr. Mari, please stay with us a couple of minutes more for the Q&A time. So now let's move on Q&A time for this session. So we have a lot of questions from the academia and industry, including my personal questions. But because of the time limit, I'm going to summarize these and ask you a common one question for each speaker. So for the first question is for the Mr. Nam. 남현 중사무관님께 첫 번째 질문을 드리겠습니다.
I would like to ask the first question to Speaker Nam. And you delivered a presentation on food labeling of functional foods and all the different procedures and policies that are adopted by the government. You said there is a range and scope of foods. So what foods can label these health claims? And do you have a plan to expand those scope in the future? What is the official stance of the Ministry of Agriculture? Yes, thank you very much. As the previous speaker said, we're still under negotiation and under discussion. So if an ingredient is approved by the KFDA, you should be able to put claims on the packaging. However, so about the formula that could be confused or misunderstood as a functional food item, there could be some restrictions, and also for some sensitive areas that are related to sexual virility and so on could have some limitations as well. After we carry out active discussion and also some consultation process with the private sector, we should be able to provide more detailed information to public, and of course, we'll have to monitor COVID-19, how it folds out, but we will have a seminar for companies who are interested in the new movement of the government. And related to academia, we are currently communicating with related government agencies and institutions so we can communicate the news to outer circles as well. Okay, I would like to ask for active support, and now I would like to move on to the second question.
In my perspective, as you have mentioned, so if the functional food labeling system is implemented, a lot of the private sector and the consumers will be curious about whether the inside the package, all those contents are fully reflective of this the labeling. So what kind of the plans do you have in that? Well, as I have mentioned in my presentation, I would like to summarize that. If the manufacturer, the product is commercialized, then I think that for this any kind of the food, the food in the industry to prosper, the reliability, the trust between the manufacturer and the final consumer is the critical. And then any kind of the misperception or any kind of the misunderstanding in the labeling or the inside the composition of the contents is should not be made, so that the monitoring process would be made. So we will and then. So that we will run regularly we'll run the monitoring the process, whether the inside the contents is fully reflective of this labeling. And the currently by the time this the food labeling the labeling system is fully implemented, that we will also have this cyber the monitoring department, so that in real time we will to get any kind of the feedback in real time, and any kind of the complaints, so that if we receive any kind of the complaints in this regard, or any kind of the misunderstandings, or any kind of the misdeeds are found, or that we have this we will also come up with this kind of the regulations that we may punish this kind of those kind of the manufacturers. Thank you. So the function of the food labeling system is aiming at having this sound, the healthy, the nutritious, the healthy industry.
We heard our first two speakers from Korea, so we are a big period, changing period for our regulating system for our health claims. So, as I know, Japan has been implementing the new functional claim system, which is food with health claim, since 2015. So I'm wondering, what difficulties have you faced, and what changed in the functional food market?
Thank you, Professor Kim. After the implementation of the FFC system, a new labeling system, the for-sure is an old system. For-sure market was restrained, and the FFC market grew to $2.7 billion, grew and grew and grew. And the FFC has expanded the functional categories that can be labeled, and currently registered about twice as many functionality as for-sure or labeling system. In addition, the functional market for fresh food, raw material products, which was not there before, grew to $170 million. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind explanation. So in this session, we've heard the efforts of governments for making the strong and sound our functional food market. So this is the end of our second session. Once again, I would like to thank you, the speakers, for in-depth discussion. So thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Professor Kim and the speakers for the session 2.